San Francisco, California, October 1st, 2013, 3:15 in the afternoon. Inside the Glen Park Public Library, a 29-year-old man sits in the science fiction section with a laptop open in front of him. He looks like any other graduate student, quiet, unremarkable, focused on his screen. The people around him have no idea that the man at the table is running the largest online drug marketplace on Earth, that he is, at this exact moment, logged into a hidden website that has processed over $1 billion in illegal transactions, that he answers to the name Dread Pirate Roberts. His real name is Ross Ulbricht. A young couple standing nearby suddenly begins to argue loudly. It's a distraction, and it works. Ross glances up for a fraction of a second. In that instant, an FBI agent snatches the laptop off the table before he can close it or trigger the encryption that would lock everything away forever. The screen is still open, still logged in, still displaying the administrator control panel of Silk Road. The government now has everything: the messages, the transaction records, the identities, and a personal journal where Ross documented building his empire from the very beginning. Over the next 2 years, Ross Ulbricht will be convicted on 7 felony counts. He will be sentenced to 2 life sentences, plus 40 years, with no possibility of parole, for a website. A 31-year-old with no prior record, buried alive by the American justice system as a warning to anyone who might follow him. And then, 11 years later, something almost nobody predicted happens. On his second day back in the White House, the President of the United States picks up a phone, calls Ross Ulbricht's mother, and grants her son a full and unconditional pardon. How does a physics graduate and former Eagle Scout become the most wanted man on the dark web? How did the FBI finally catch a ghost hidden behind layers of encryption? And how did a man serving 2 life sentences walk out of a maximum security prison a free man? Ross William Ulbricht is born March 27, 1984, in Austin, Texas. By every account, he is a model child, intelligent, gentle, and curious. He becomes an Eagle Scout, the highest rank in the Boy Scouts. Friends describe him as kind, idealistic, and almost incapable of aggression. He is the last person anyone would predict ends up at the center of an international criminal investigation. He excels academically, a full scholarship to the University of Texas at Dallas, where he graduates with a degree in physics. Then Pennsylvania State University for a master's in materials science and engineering. On paper, a brilliant young scientist headed for a respectable career. But somewhere along the way, Ross falls in love with an idea. He discovers libertarianism, the economic philosophy of the Austrian school and thinkers like Ludwig von Mises. He becomes convinced that individuals should be free to do whatever they want, as long as they aren't hurting anyone else. That the government has no right to tell a person what they can put into their own body. That victimless crimes shouldn't be crimes at all. For most people, this stays a philosophy. For Ross Ulbricht, it becomes a blueprint. By 2010, his business ventures have failed. A video game company, a used book-selling business. Ross is drifting, frustrated, looking for something bigger, something that will prove a truly free market, with no government and no interference, can exist. He just needs the technology to make it invisible. And in 2010, that technology finally exists. Two pieces of technology make Silk Road possible. Without either one, it could never have existed. The first is Tor, the onion router, originally developed with US government funding to protect intelligence communications. Tor bounces internet traffic through layers of encryption across volunteer servers worldwide, making it nearly impossible to trace who is visiting a website or where it is hosted. It creates a hidden internet, the dark web, beyond the reach of ordinary search engines and, seemingly, law enforcement. The second is Bitcoin. In 2009, a new digital currency appears that lets people send money directly, without banks, without names, without a paper trail. To Ross, Bitcoin is the missing piece, a currency for a marketplace that can't be tracked. Ross combines them. In early 2011, he launches Silk Road. The concept is simple and radical, an anonymous online marketplace where buyers and sellers trade freely. Ross designs it to look like a legitimate e-commerce site, an eBay for the dark web. Product listings with photos, seller ratings, customer reviews, an escrow system, dispute resolution. In its architecture, a genuinely impressive piece of engineering. And it sells drugs, heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, LSD, ecstasy, cannabis, shipped through the regular mail, paid for in untraceable Bitcoin, ordered through an untraceable browser. To seed the site, Ross reportedly grows his own psilocybin mushrooms to have a first product to sell. Once the first transactions go through, once people realize this actually works, word spreads through online drug forums like wildfire. Silk Road explodes. And as the empire grows, Ross adopts a persona from the film The Princess Bride, a masked figure whose identity passes from person to person, so no one can be sure who is behind the mask. Dread Pirate Roberts. How much money can an anonymous drug marketplace actually make? And what happens to a gentle, idealistic Boy Scout when he suddenly has more power and money than he ever imagined? The numbers become staggering. Over roughly 2.5 years, Silk Road facilitates over 1.5 million transactions, generating more than $200 million in drug sales, with total transaction volume estimated by prosecutors at over $1.2 billion. Ross takes a commission on every sale. At its peak, Silk Road has hundreds of thousands of registered users and thousands of drug listings from dealers all over the world. Ross Ulbricht is now, functionally, the CEO of the largest narcotics operation on the internet. Prosecutors will later estimate he personally earned tens of millions of dollars in commissions, held in Bitcoin. But running an empire built on anonymity comes with a specific kind of paranoia. If any single person learns his real identity, the entire structure collapses. And Ross goes to prison for the rest of his life. The gentle idealist is now sitting on a fortune, running a criminal enterprise, and terrified of being exposed. And this is where the story turns dark. According to federal prosecutors, when Ross came to believe certain people threatened to expose Silk Road or blackmail him, he did something the Boy Scout from Austin would once have found unthinkable. Prosecutors allege that Ulbricht paid approximately $730,000 in murder-for-hire deals, targeting at least 5 people he viewed as threats. The chilling detail: prosecutors believe no contracted killing actually occurred. Ross appears to have been scammed, paying for murders that were never carried out, in some cases by undercover operatives or con artists posing as hitmen. He was manipulated as thoroughly as he had manipulated the market he built. He was never formally charged with murder for hire at his New York trial, but the evidence was introduced. The judge would consider it, and it would help justify one of the harshest sentences ever handed down for a nonviolent computer crime. How do you catch a man who has hidden every trace of himself behind military-grade encryption? You don't beat the technology. You beat the human being behind it. Ross Ulbricht built an almost perfect fortress, but almost is the operative word. The investigation pulls in the FBI, the DEA, Homeland Security, and the IRS. For a long time, they are stumped. Tor hides the servers. Bitcoin hides the money. Dread Pirate Roberts is a ghost. No name, no face, no location. The break comes not from cracking encryption, but from something much more ordinary. An IRS investigator named Gary Alford does what almost no one else thought to do. He goes back to the very beginning of Silk Road and searches the early internet for the first mentions of the site. The moment before it was famous, when whoever created it would have needed to advertise it somewhere to attract the first users. And he finds them. In early 2011, someone using the username Altoid posted about Silk Road on online forums, promoting the brand new marketplace. That same username appears in another post looking for programming help on a Bitcoin project. And in that post, Altoid tells interested people to contact him at an email address. That email address contains Ross Ulbricht's real, full name. It is a catastrophic mistake made in the earliest days of the site, long before Ross understood how careful he needed to be. A single username, connecting the anonymous founder to a real human being in Texas. A crumb of digital evidence left in the open 2 years earlier, waiting to be found. Now the agents have a name, and to convict Dread Pirate Roberts, they need to catch Ross Ulbricht, logged into Silk Road as the administrator, with the evidence live on his screen. They need him in a public place, distracted, with his laptop open. They just have to wait for the right moment. The FBI tracks Ross to San Francisco, where he has been living quietly under the radar. They watch him. They learn his routines. They know he frequently works from public locations using their Wi-Fi, a security measure that ironically becomes his undoing. On October 1st, 2013, Ross walks into the Glen Park branch of the San Francisco Public Library. He sits down, opens his laptop, and logs into Silk Road as Dread Pirate Roberts, entering the administrator area, the beating heart of his criminal empire. The FBI has agents positioned throughout the library. The problem is technical. If they simply grab Ross, he could slam the laptop shut and the disk encryption would engage, locking the government out permanently. They need the laptop open and unlocked, with Ross's hands away from the keyboard. So they stage a distraction. Two agents, posing as a couple, begin a loud, aggressive argument right next to Ross's table. It's impossible to ignore. Ross instinctively looks toward the commotion, pulling his hands away from his computer for just a second. That second is all they need. A third agent sweeps in and physically snatches the laptop away, carrying it to a colleague who immediately keeps it from locking. The screen is still glowing, still logged in, still showing the Silk Road administrator panel, with Ross signed in as Dread Pirate Roberts in real time. The fortress falls in an instant. On the laptop, investigators find everything: transaction logs, private messages, and most damning of all, a personal journal in which Ross documented the creation and operation of Silk Road in his own words from the beginning. He had written the confession himself and carried it with him. The most wanted man on the dark web is in handcuffs, and he never saw it coming. Ross Ulbricht goes on trial in federal court in New York in early 2015. His defense argues that Ross created Silk Road, but handed off control to others after a few months, and was lured back as a fall guy. The prosecution dismantles it, the journal on his laptop, the login at the moment of arrest, and a mountain of digital evidence tie Ross directly to Dread Pirate Roberts from beginning to end. The jury convicts him on all counts. 7 felonies, including engaging in a continuing criminal enterprise, distributing narcotics over the internet, conspiracy to commit money laundering, trafficking fraudulent identity documents, and conspiracy to commit computer hacking. Then comes the sentence, and it shocks even people who wanted him convicted. Ross Ulbricht is sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 40 years with no possibility of parole for a 31-year-old with no prior criminal record convicted of running a website. The judge cites the scale of the operation and the alleged murder-for-hire commissions, for which he was never criminally charged, in justifying the extraordinary severity. Prosecutors also connected drugs sold on the site to the overdose deaths of several young people. The sentence sends a message, exactly as intended. Build something like Silk Road, and the government will bury you alive. Ross's appeals all fail. In 2017, the Court of Appeals upholds the sentence. In 2018, the Supreme Court declines to hear his case. Every legal door closes. Ross settles into a maximum security federal prison to serve a sentence designed to keep him there until he dies. For most people, that would be the end, a cautionary tale. But Ross Ulbricht's story was about to take the most improbable turn of all, one that had nothing to do with the courts and everything to do with politics. While Ross sat in prison, a movement grew on the outside. Libertarians, prison reform advocates, and the cryptocurrency community rallied under a single banner: Free Ross. His mother, Lynn Ulbricht, became a tireless campaigner, arguing that her son's punishment was a monstrous example of government overreach. A first-time, non-violent offender, given a death-in-prison sentence for building a website used by other people. The crypto community embraced Ross as a martyr, a Bitcoin pioneer whose marketplace had, ironically, been one of the first real-world uses that gave Bitcoin its value. Over the years, his cause gathered political momentum. Then it collided with a presidential campaign. In May 2024, addressing the Libertarian National Convention, presidential candidate Donald Trump made a promise. If re-elected, he would free Ross Ulbricht. The libertarian vote was in play, and this was the price. Ross, watching from prison, celebrated Trump's election victory and publicly reminded him of the pledge. Trump kept it almost immediately. On January 21, 2025, his second day back in office, Trump granted Ross Ulbricht a full and unconditional pardon. He announced it by revealing he had personally called Ross's mother. That evening, after more than 11 years in maximum security federal prison, Ross Ulbricht walked out a free man and was reunited with his family. The reaction was explosive. Democrats condemned the pardon as a slap in the face to families who had lost loved ones to drugs sold on Silk Road. Trump had declared a national emergency over drug trafficking on his first day in office, then pardoned one of the most notorious online drug kingpins in history on his second. In May 2025, Ross Ulbricht made his first public appearance since his release, taking the stage to a hero's welcome at the Bitcoin 2025 conference in Las Vegas. The gentle Boy Scout from Austin, who built a billion-dollar drug empire from a laptop and was buried alive by the justice system, was free and celebrated. Here's the detail most people assume wrong. Ross Ulbricht walked out of prison a free man, but he did not walk out a rich one. The pardon erased his sentence. It did not give him back his Bitcoin. The US government had seized roughly 144,000 Bitcoin tied to Silk Road and auctioned it off years earlier, long before the price exploded into the tens of thousands of dollars per coin. In a 2017 legal settlement, Ulbricht formally waived all claims to those forfeited coins. Then, in 2021, he agreed to give up ownership of a separate cache of over 50,000 Bitcoin that had been seized from a hacker, a hoard worth billions of dollars, in exchange for resolving a $183 million forfeiture order tied to his case. A presidential pardon forgives the crime. It does not reverse a forfeiture. The fortune was gone for good, but the crypto community was not going to let their martyr walk free broke. After his release, the money started flowing in from supporters. The Free Ross campaign raised hundreds of thousands more. Ulbricht auctioned personal items and artwork from his years in prison, including his final prison ID card, which sold for more than $1 million, raising roughly $1.8 million in total. Then, in June 2025, just after his triumphant appearance at the Bitcoin conference, something strange happened. An anonymous donor sent 300 Bitcoin, worth approximately $31.4 million, directly to Ulbricht's public donation wallet, with no message attached. Within hours, most of it was moved to the Kraken exchange. The donation immediately became a mystery. Blockchain analysis firm Chainalysis traced the funds back to wallets connected to Alphabet, a dark web marketplace that had risen to replace Silk Road after Ross's arrest, once described by the FBI as the largest of its kind. The coins had been pushed through a mixing service to obscure their origin. The donor's identity remains unknown to this day, a gift from a grateful admirer, a fellow dark web operator, a ghost from the very ecosystem Ross helped create, returning to repay him. The man who built an empire on untraceable money had become the recipient of untraceable money from a source that traced straight back to the dark web he left behind. Silk Road proved something that terrified governments worldwide, that, with the right combination of technology, anonymous browsing, and untraceable money, a single person could build a criminal marketplace beyond the easy reach of the most powerful law enforcement agencies on Earth. When Silk Road fell, dozens of successors immediately rose to take its place. The dark web marketplace did not die with Ross Ulbricht. It multiplied, but Ross himself became something more complicated than a criminal. He became a symbol, to his supporters, of government overreach and a decentralized future, to his critics, of a justice system that could be bent by politics and money, a man responsible for a billion-dollar drug empire, walking free while others served decades for far less. Ross Ulbricht was caught because of a username he posted before he understood the stakes. He was convicted because he carried his own confession on his laptop. He was sentenced to die in prison, and he was freed by a promise made at a political convention. Whether that's justice or its opposite depends entirely on who you ask. Ross Ulbricht built his empire on Bitcoin, the currency that made the untraceable possible. But Bitcoin cuts both ways. In 2016, hackers stole 120,000 Bitcoin from a single exchange, and for 6 years nobody knew where it went. Then investigators traced it to a New York couple and discovered the wife had been posting cringe-worthy rap videos online under the name Razzlecon while sitting on billions in stolen crypto. That story next time on Covert Case Histories.